Is it me or does it feel like for the past couple of years, Marvel has completely been outperforming, outshining, and just having more success in general than DC games? Because you look at like some of the latest Marvel games that came out that was like really big. Both of them were Spider-Man games. So in terms of popularity, Spider-Man is pretty much where Batman was more than a decade ago, especially considering with how popular and successful Marvel Spider-Man 2 was. That game's only been out for a few months now and already did 5 million sales. And yeah, it's like for the most part, it seems like DC games in general are just they're not as popular as the Spider-Man games. And I think the main reason for that is because we haven't gotten a brand new like Batman game where the game solely focuses on Bruce Wayne or anything like that. Like you look at some of the latest games that we've gotten, Gotham Knights and Justice League Kill the Suicide Squad. Gotham Knights, Batman was allegedly dead, but then you found out he faked his death. You also find out in the Suicide Squad game that he faked his death as well, because obviously DC's not going to kill off like their most popular character. But it seems like with these new games, because I know like they're I know like they're trying to put more spotlight on other like DC characters and all that stuff. But the problem is they're trying to do it like in a way where they're grouping up a bunch of names together and trying to create a story for them, opposed to just focusing on one popular character and just focus on character development and all that stuff. And I do feel like that's one of the reasons why like the stories are not as compelling, or maybe people cannot really get invested into it, because because I remember not too long ago, I want to say it was about a year ago or something, we got like a Guardians of the Galaxy game as well, and that game was really nothing special either. And and I think for the most part, video games where you have like everything focused on just one character, and everything is just character development, compelling story, gameplay features, music score, open world environment, stuff like that. It really means more, especially nowadays, because the action adventure genre is more popular than it's ever been. Seeing how popular 3D gaming has been the past like decade or so, how far it's come and all that other stuff. But yeah, like DC games in general, even though they attract mainstream attention, they're overly hyped before they're officially released. Once it comes out, seems like they just get mediocre reviews in general. It's really nothing special, unless you're a niche audience of, I guess, DC or Marvel, or depending what game you get. And I'm not exactly sure whether or not like any other superhero other than Batman could possibly um, could compete with Spider-Man in terms of popularity. I know we're supposed to be getting a Wonder Woman game sometime in the future, and I believe we saw like a reveal trailer for the Wonder Woman game last year, but that's about it. We haven't seen any gameplay footage. We don't know when the release date's going to be. We don't know um, what consoles it's going to be on for sure. I know PS5 has to be one of them, but we don't know what other game systems it's going to be on. Probably Xbox, maybe it being on PC makes sense, but even Wonder Woman, she is a character that appeals to, like, even though she's mainstream, she appeals to casuals and a niche audience. Um I do feel like the ball was dropped on Harley Quinn. I feel like she should have just had her own video game. And I think I made a video about that about a year ago or something. But I do feel like Harley Quinn deserved her own video game because she has the popularity, the look, everything you can think of. She had her own television show back in 2019, which was actually pretty decent. I watched like the whole season or whatever, and it was pretty fun. It was mature, but at the same time, it felt lighthearted and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I do feel like, in a sense, DC and the creators are really squandering, her popularity because I feel like a few years ago, Harley Quinn was way more popular than she is right now. And I think it's gotten to a point now where, and it's crazy because Marvel's owned by DC, and it seems like, we're getting better Marvel games than we are DC. And that's kind of, embarrassing to some extent because everybody knows that for the most part, Marvel is more geared towards children because of Disney, and DC is supposed to appeal more towards adults. But there are diehard fans of both DC and Marvel, and it really depends on like what you're a fan of because I feel like even though both brands appeal to casuals, they still have their niche hardcore fan base that they're doing everything to appease. So I'm not exactly sure whether or not, the commercial failure of Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad game is something that, points to a bigger problem with DC games in general. But I just know that DC games are not as appealing as they were back when we got the Batman Arkham series. And and I'm not sure if it's because, they decided to take the spotlight off of Batman or if it has everything to do with that. But it just doesn't seem like DC games are really like connecting with people like the older games did. And hopefully like we'll get a DC game that really captures the attention of many people. It probably would be something that would appeal to people to the same level that the Arkham series did back in the day, but I'm not exactly sure. I feel like the Batman Arkham trilogy was like a lightning in a bottle type scenario. It's always possible that they could make a Batman game that was good as Arkham Asylum or Arkham City or what have you, but it would have to be like a sequel to Arkham Knight, or it'll have to be like a spiritual successor to that or something of that nature. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, DC may have to put the spotlight back on Batman because it doesn't seem like the Suicide Squad is really. It doesn't necessarily appeal to people like Batman has in the past, and unfortunately, if things don't change and DC games don't start appealing to the masses, and they don't start getting good scores, then I feel like by the time Marvel Spider-Man 3 comes out, DC's eventually going to get left in the dust.